Welcome to Radio Row live from Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. I'm Roy Kessel for Sports Philanthropy Network, and we're very excited to have with us special guest today, Nick Esayian. Nick is with the White Helmets, and he's going to talk to us about some of the new technology that they're building into the helmets to help prevent brain injuries and concussions. So, Nick, thank you for being with us again this year.
Roy, thanks for having me. Exciting to be here. It should be an exciting game, in spite of what some people have said. I don't want to see these two teams. On game day, nobody's going to care. It's going to be a great game, and we're excited to be part of it and keeping the players safe.
Well, player safety is huge, right? We know that brain injuries are such a significant negative impact on the game, right? Scaring a lot of people away from tackle football. A lot of young athletes are not playing. They're shifting completely to flag. Talk a little bit about your helmet and how that helmet is changing the equation.
Sure, it's a great topic, right? Football's never been safer than it's been to play now, and that some of it is rule changes, some of it is the way we diagnose injury, some of it's coaching, some of it's strength training, hydration, a wide range of things. But helmets were ignored for such a long time, and now there's been a renewed focus because the NFL started doing testing in 2017, and then there's an independent organization, the Independent Labs of Virginia Tech, that also test helmets. Our helmet is number one at Virginia Tech, and we're in the highest category at the NFL. Why does this matter? Our helmets weigh about half what a traditional helmet weighs. So when you see a game and you lose a key quarterback, the quality of the game goes down, right? The media rates go down, the play goes down, the team doesn't have as good of an opportunity to win. But the other thing is that person's got a family, they've got a life ahead of them. So reducing these injuries is key. We work closely with the NFL and their testing to come out with our Apache helmet, which is number one on the Virginia Tech list. But the biggest thing is that finally there's a focus on this. But there's only 3 football helmet companies that make football helmets. Most people don't know that.
Well, and I think what you've seen over the years, right, Virginia Tech has been the gold standard at measuring that, right? And one of the critiques of the measurement system has been, right, a lot of it hasn't been tested in a dynamic fashion, right? It's been tested in a lab. It's not tested in under playing conditions. It's not tested for different size, speed, strength, head, neck, muscles, right? Kids are developing at a different rate
100%.
than an NFL player.
That's it. And the helmets you might see on Sunday on an NFL player look like the helmets that a young player is wearing, but the internals are completely different. Some cases that's based on cost, some cases it's based on the size and speed of the game. Light has helmets that go all the way from the youth, 5-star, the highest rated helmets, all the way up to the NFL. But something to keep in mind is helmet fitment is almost as critical as the helmet that you're wearing, assuming that it's a top tier helmet. Neck strength is critical, but in the lab, they don't test at different temperatures. They don't test at different elevations if the helmet has air bladders in it. They don't test when a helmet gets humid on the inside and you put it down when it's cold. How does that affect the dynamic of the helmet? So our helmets are tested at all of those different conditions because most of this technologies come from either auto racing or the military. And in fact, we have 3 Navy SEALs that own part of the company. Tony Romo, the founder of FedEx, Fred Smith, of Tyrod Taylor, Cam Jordan, Drew Stanton, people in the league. It's the first helmet company in recent history where players are helping craft the helmet alongside of doctors, and we've got 12 docs on our advisory board. So coalescing military, medical, and NFL player together has really put us in a unique position to move quickly and be the fastest growing helmet company.
Well, one of the things that's really interesting when you look at what goes on with the helmets, right? And I see now we've got some Eagles and Chiefs helmets running around over there. But one of the things that's a challenge, right, is the cost. You talked about that, right, especially in youth sports. So tell us about what the cost of these types of helmets is.
Great question. So youth helmets can range anywhere from the high 200s to an NFL helmet that's just under $1,000. So this Apache helmet that Virginia Tech is rated at number 1 competes with helmets that are in upwards of $1,700. This helmet costs less than $700. Now, the beauty of this is our youth helmets you can actually resize. So as Junior grows or he goes to a crazier hairstyle, you can actually get the helmet resized. At this level of play, elite high school, college, NFL level, helmets are fit based on the head shape. So there's a scan done and the helmet's customized. When that player goes on to the regular workforce and is no longer playing, that helmet is just a paperweight. Our helmets can be reconfigured in that customized fashion, but still offer the superior safety. And one thing people don't want to talk about is player performance. If I took 2 pounds off an F1 car, Ferrari, Mercedes would pay millions of dollars to do that. I can take 2 pounds off a 200-pound athlete, and that's a big slice of weight to remove from the worst part of the body.
Well, and one of the things that we've seen, right, you talk about having it custom fit, right? Our bodies are not static, right? Our heads expand. You talked about the heat, you talked about the sweat, you talk about the moisture, everything else that's going on, right? And the field surfaces
absolutely
change. So how does that impact the conditions?
This goes back to your insightful comment earlier, which is, are these helmets being tested in all these different environments? Because you have turf, you have grass, you have helmet to helmet, helmet to shoulder, helmet to knee, all of these different injuries. And one thing that's not taken into consideration is when you have a heavier helmet, imagine putting your hand on a counter and dropping a 6-pound hammer on it versus a 3-pound. Well, there's more energy in that 6-pound item falling. And what ends up happening is that additional stress ends up in your cervical structure, projected into the athlete. And when you add temperature, humidity, and other variables, it's very difficult to test for those things. But the one thing that's a static that always remains the same is the weight of the helmet. So reducing that weight reduces the amount of energy in these head whip impacts.
And I think that weight thing is so critical. You talk about it. I mean, we've seen the science that shows the number of G's of force that are coming often for a young athlete's head because their chest and neck muscles are not as developed. There's actually greater impact on their head for a collision that might look slower than an NFL level impact.
100% right. In fact, NOXI, and I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but they approve all helmets from NFL down to youth. They have a new youth standard that every helmet will have to be under 3.5 pounds. They did 2 studies, University of Ottawa and Virginia Tech, to derive that number, yet it's still not been implemented, and they're working on it, and then we understand that it takes some time to put that in place, but our helmets already are below that standard for a youth level. Now, when you think at an NFL level, on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you and I were running as fast as those guys, 22, 23 miles an hour, that's a closing speed of 46 miles an hour with over 450 pounds of weight, right? If you have 2 guys at 225, that is a tremendous impact. Kids aren't going to experience that impact, so the helmet's a different type of helmet for the youth as it is for the NFL player.
Well, and I think what's great is following the progression in terms of what you've been able to develop. I know that the light helmets are getting more traction, more implementation. It's great to see that, so we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. I know you filled out a card here just before our conversation for the Wall of Philanthropy, so we're going to have you stick it right up here.
Special Operations Warrior Foundation.
Okay.
Special Operations Warrior Foundation provides grants to special operators, could be Navy SEALs, Rangers, Delta Force, PJs, etc., that are killed in action or in training, to ensure that their kids have an opportunity to go to school, receive whatever type of education through grants. It's a wonderful charity, a very low load rate, and we're excited to support them.
Well, Nick, thank you for coming on with us. We appreciate that.
Thank you for having us.
We love seeing the work, and for all of our viewers and listeners, thank you for taking time to join us on Sports Philanthropy Network, live from Radio Row at Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. Please remember to live generously.
Thanks, Roy.
Thank you.
Great job.
Appreciate you.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate you.